Matt Smith TV.
What's the biggest red flag you've ever seen whilst dating somebody? We all have our own red flags that we really don't rock with. Some icks. I'm gonna go over some specific red flags and some green flags that you wanna look out for in dating. Because at the end of the day, you wanna date with intention because you wanna marry with intention, and you don't marry anybody that you don't date. So if you wanna represent Christ in the church with your marriage, pay attention. But real quick, make sure to subscribe. I'm on the road to 1,000, I'm getting pretty close, so make sure you subscribe. All right, let's do it. One massive red flag that doesn't look like a red flag but is people that value being nice over being wise. Be pleasant, always, but don't put yourself in a bad situation just to look like the good guy in a situation. If you date a guy or a girl that does that, you're gonna have a lot of people in their DMs all the time because they wanna be nice, but they're not guarding their hearts and they're not being wise. They're not investing into relationships that are actually gonna walk them through their lives in love. They prefer to be liked by many, to be approved of by people that don't matter, but don't really have a bearing on their life and their life mission, rather than honoring those people close to them. You don't want to date or marry that person. A massive red flag is if somebody has a flirty personality. The power of life and death is in the tongue, the Bible says. Well, what are you giving life to? Are you giving life to opportunities that shouldn't even be there? Are you giving life to inappropriate relationships with your tongue, with your body language? It's cool if you're a smooth talker. There's nothing wrong with that. It's cool if you have fun with her and she's flirty one-on-one because you guys are romantically involved. But what isn't befitting of a godly man or woman is somebody that just exudes that all the time. There may be some kind of spirit on them, or they're just ill-disciplined. I would avoid that if I were you. Be wary of somebody who knows a lot of Bible, but you never really see them reading their Bible. Here's the thing about the Bible, it's like no other document ever. It goes deeper and wider. So if you know the Bible perfectly because you read it a lot as a child, that doesn't mean that God's revealed to you the things that he wants to reveal to you as an adult. They may well have a religious or outdated understanding of the Bible, and not outdated in that it's not true. It's just that God hasn't updated more wisdom, more understanding, more knowledge, more spiritual gifts, more spiritual fruit in that person since the first time they read it and remembered it. Memorization isn't understanding, and it definitely ain't faith. A red flag is when somebody doesn't make sacrifices that benefit their own future. If they do that, they're very unlikely to do anything that benefits your future. And they're not going to understand when you make sacrifices to benefit your own future. They don't want to make that sacrifice of cutting ties with their ex, for example, because it's uncomfortable. Well, you have a life to marshal for the next 50, 60 years. But conversely, I will say a green flag is when somebody has nailed, or at least is trying to nail, delayed gratification. Things like working out, sacrificing the now for the future. That bodes really well for people's spouses. So I would take a look at people who do that. That's a green flag. I mean, another red flag is this: somebody who's very motivated to date you now. There's a bunch of reasons. Firstly, they probably haven't spoken to God about it, or they've gotten an answer from God that isn't actually from God, but it's from their emotions. Because God isn't going to tell you one thing and him or her the other. But also people who are really highly motivated to date you now, that often burns out. Passion burns out. A considered and godly approach to dating is actually a commitment. So if you're really motivated to do this now and you're disappointed or you have resentment in waiting, yeah, that's an issue. You're probably not going to be particularly loyal or steadfast or enduring in this relationship. Something else you want to avoid? People whose standards that they proclaim to have don't actually match their track record. If I walk into a burger joint and it says $15, but all my friends were there 30 minutes ago and they bought it for $7, there's no way I'm paying $15. I think you're probably trying to hustle me. If somebody proclaims to have a certain standard, they're probably trying to make you pay a price that, even if it's a fair price, like, hey, I don't have sex for marriage, fair enough, you shouldn't. But if you have in your last 3 or 4 relationships, it begs the question, is this something that I want to enter into that could possibly become marriage? I don't know. A red flag, now this is one on the ladies. If she expects you to spend a bunch of money on the first date, that means she wants to be impressed more than she wants to find out information about you. Those first few dates, you're really finding out about each other, learning about each other. Yes, have a good time, but you don't have anything to celebrate. You don't deserve any of his sacrifice, which is basically what it is. When you buy an expensive wedding ring, you're showing, hey, I don't mind sacrificing this lump of money because I'm serious about this commitment. That don't matter on the first or second date. But I will say it goes both ways. It's also a red flag if a man is purposely, you can tell he's trying to really impress you. That's priority one on the date. He's trying to impress you, and often men will do that with money. That's a red flag. He hasn't got his priorities in order. He's trying to manifest some kind of interest or relationship that he doesn't even know if it should exist yet. Yeah, dress well, smell good, spend a little bit of money, pay as the man, definitely provide because you are a provider, but don't try blow her out the water with something crazy. That's a red flag. A green flag is somebody who speaks grace, whose tongue always has grace on it, who just exudes forgiveness, who exudes second chances. And not that they're a pushover. No, they just recognize the gospel of Jesus Christ. They don't speak death. They don't speak defeat. They speak victory in grace. This means they are somebody who will bounce back from defeat, somebody who will be resilient, somebody who will endure and have persistence, and somebody who will be servant-hearted probably. Yeah, somebody who's always speaking law and judgment. That's not a fun person to be with for the rest of your life. Another green flag, and this is for both genders, slow to speak, quick to listen. It's going to save you a lot of arguments. It's going to save you a lot of ruined days, and it's a massive green flag. Another huge positive is somebody who's honest about their current struggles. This means they're probably going to end up being delivered from them. It also means that they're not above reproach. All really positive things when you're considering dating and then marrying somebody. This one's a bit more specific. This is a huge green flag if somebody works out as much or more than they claim to work out. Most people, when you first meet them, you ask them if they work out and they say, yeah, 4 times a week. It's really once, but actually they haven't been much the last month anyway. It's a very simple thing that people kind of just casually lie about. That's why I didn't put it on the red flag list. Most people fib about it a little bit, but it's a green flag if they say, I'm trying to go 3-4 times a week, but they actually, when you have a peek at their life, they're doing really well and they're pushing themselves and they're not telling everybody. Huge green flag, because working out is really analogous to the rest of their life. Trust me, if you can sacrifice in the gym, you'll sacrifice for a spouse, for a wife, for a husband. A massive green flag, this one is one of my favorites in dating, is somebody who is patient and doesn't mind waiting for things. When you get married, you become one flesh, so you're going to adopt a lot of their characteristics, strengths, and weaknesses. Somebody who's willing to wait, somebody who doesn't push things, somebody that goes at God's timing and God's speed, man, that's going to be a blessing on your life. That's a green flag. A green flag when you meet their family is that their parents treat you as your own entity. Oftentimes when you meet somebody's parents, they treat you as a means to their daughter or son's marriage or as a huge threat. And yeah, you might be both of those things, but the fact is you are an entity in and of yourself. If I meet a girl's dad and he's actually interested in me as an individual and he's not trying to use me or put me in a difficult position that benefits his daughter in this weird way, it means he understands, first of all, that even if this doesn't work out, I have a whole life that's still valuable and normal, even if it's not with his daughter. But also he recognizes that if we become one flesh, I need to be in a good position to lead this family and lead his daughter anyway. So he's treating me as my own entity. Green flag. Another really good prospective characteristic is if they're on time or within 5 minutes of being on time 80% of the time. People are late. I'm probably on time more than 80% of the time or early, but that's tough. So I say if you're within 5 minutes of being on time 4 times out of 5, then that's good because most people are late for everything by 15 minutes. Shows a level of responsibility, adulthood, maturity, things like that. Another green flag is that they spend time spending time. You don't want to have a lifetime full of vacations where you can't even enjoy breakfast because they're rushing you out the house. You want somebody who knows how to enjoy life, not by being reckless, but by enjoying each second as it comes. That's going to give you a blissful life. Another green flag, a man or woman who does not stress about money even if they're in a difficult situation. The one thing about money is worry doesn't help. Like anything in life, if you worry about it, you're basically putting a massive target on it for the devil because you're like, hey devil, this is how you can mess with me. A man or woman who trusts God is also a man who will be trusted with a lot. So get with him or her. A green flag for a man is if he pays for everything, but doesn't flex or feel the need to stand out by paying for everything. That is a man who is secure in being a provider. If he's insecure in being a provider, he's going to signal that by trying to spend a ton of money. That's silly and immature, and it's actually being a bad steward. You don't want to be with that dude. This one's a huge green flag. If you can't tell that they have exes, now they're probably going to tell you because you're probably going to ask. But if you literally can't feel that man or woman on them, like that spirit is gone, they have put in work to make sure that there is separation between them and their old life that they don't want in their past, huge green flag, because that takes work and a lot of people don't even bother putting that work in. Another green flag, some people might disagree with me on this one, but I like people who don't have many people just involved in their life. Like if you have 12 people that you call, yeah, one of my closest friends, that's weird to me. I think that's kind of a red flag. I like people who only need a few people involved at once, because when there's tons of people, that's often an insecure person that needs to lean on tons of people, and somebody who probably doesn't have a very solid relationship with God. Again, this isn't gospel, this is just my observation and my opinion. I like it when somebody has a couple of real close friends, a couple family members they trust, and maybe somebody at work or somebody older than them, like an elder or a pastor, something like that. That shows me that you seek the Lord by yourself and you don't run your life off of the consensus of many, which I think is foolish. Another green flag, he or she doesn't try to impress you, they try to understand you. That's what you want, because being impressed lasts for, a few days. Being understood, that's how you love somebody. A green flag is when somebody's actions match their words. This means they are predictably good, they're predictably reliable. Unpredictability is fun for like 6 months, then you're gonna feel like you're in prison. Don't get hooked on that. A massive red flag is when somebody projects and wants you to know about their severe interest in you very early. This is not love, this is not kismet. It's actually a common manipulation tactic, because what do people like? Being liked. So if you hear how liked you are by this person, you're probably going to start liking them more than you would. They're probably trying to pry something from you, whether you realize it or not. Be really careful with those people. Another red flag, and we kind of went over this with the green flag, too many people involved in their lives. People of high integrity aren't actually tolerated or accepted or loved by that many people. They're actually a little bit too hot to handle sometimes, because you have to come to them with a level of truth and integrity if you want to have a meaningful involvement in their life. So don't be afraid if somebody doesn't have that many people involved. They're probably on a higher level that not that many people can reach. Huge red flag, this is going to get you cheated on. Don't date this person. Somebody who puts themselves in bad situations and then relies on themselves in their flesh to get out of it. You know why I don't drink? Yeah, the Bible says don't be drunk. Yeah, it's bad for your liver. But because if I drink, I'm gonna sin and I'm gonna do some stuff that really entangles me. I know that about myself. You don't want to date somebody who thinks they're solid in their faith enough that they can get in their flesh and they won't do anything. No, if you have a solid understanding of biblical flesh versus biblical spirit, of yourself, of what you're capable of, you'll know that you're not supposed to put yourself in those situations at all, and that is actually what self-control is. Self-control is not walking up to your flesh and going, hey, let's do this, that, and the other, and then saying, whoa, now let's stop. That doesn't work. You're gonna get yourself in trouble. You're gonna cheat on your wife. You're gonna cheat on your husband. You're gonna do all of that. Another red flag, and I hate to say it, ladies, this is mostly y'all, but if she claims to not struggle at all with lust, especially if the reason is because she's a virgin or just has a lower body count, it's gonna put you in a difficult position, because she's gonna feel above reproach in that area. And most of us have some kind of damage in that area and some kind of healing. The devil loves to hit us there when we're young, but also when we're not expecting it and when we're in our pride. If you know you're susceptible to difficulties, you have a much better chance of honoring your spouse. So it's a red flag if you think that you are above reproach in the area of sex or lust. Another massive red flag, if somebody has dated one or more unbelievers and then blames it on that person faking rather than their own lack of discernment. It's only going to come back and bite the person who's actually serious when they date that person. Be careful of those people. Oh, this one kills me. When somebody has a huge over-reliance on the opinions and approvals of their parents when they're 20 plus years old. They're basically just copping out and saying that they don't want to be an adult on their own. They use that to say, I don't want to, or I do want to do this. They kind of use their parents to get their way, because there's a certain maturity and selflessness that comes with doing the right thing despite what your parents tell you or advise to you. Most parents, especially helicopter parents, are going to advise you to be a little bit selfish, which is what you cannot be entering a relationship. Be careful of those people. Be careful of people who have insecure fathers. Typically, usually the mums are a bit better at this, but it can be a mum. But insecure fathers who project their inadequacies upon you. I've worked in personal finance for like 3 years. Most dads, even if they've earned good money, are not prepared for retirement. And I think that's why a lot of them, if their daughters date a young man who isn't set up yet, duh, I'm 22, of course I ain't set up yet, duh, I'm 23, of course I ain't set up yet, they will make him feel like dirt and be overly critical of him, and actually they will try to get him to cash in his gift for something that can take care of him and his girl, maybe, yeah, but is actually squishing the seed that God has planted there. Is going to be slower but bigger than what the father sees. Be careful of them dads. That's like a dating a girl or man dad red flag. Another red flag, I've spoken about this a lot, close friends of the opposite sex. There is no benefit to a marriage of having close friends of the opposite sex. What do you want in your husband or wife? I want to be close, I want to be their friend. So why are you getting that very thing from somebody else of the opposite sex? You're trying to supplement your marriage with something from another man or woman that isn't your husband or wife. That lets in crazy opportunity. This isn't so much a red flag, but it's something to keep an eye on, because they should make changes to their friendships when they start dating to protect what they are building. Because even if it's not a particular threat, I don't know that. She doesn't know that about any female friends that I might have. So their unwillingness to change that shows that they're not willing to make a sacrifice to protect something that, even if they know it's fine, they should really be protecting the heart of the other person. If they're not willing to do that, keep an eye on it and see how that unfolds. That could be a problem. And definitely don't let them gaslight you into thinking that you're trying to be controlling when you just have boundaries and standards. Another red flag. Purposely not understanding an issue that you're having. A lot of people are intellectually dishonest when it comes to an issue being brought to them because they don't want to change. They'll pretend. It's a form of gaslighting. They'll pretend not to understand to make you feel dumb for bringing it up, and then you probably won't bring it up again. You don't like being made to feel dumb. Yeah, that's a big red flag. You want somebody who works hard to understand how they hurt or offended or upset you, so that they don't do it again, or so that they can talk it out and resolve the issue. Not somebody who pretends the issue isn't there. And the final thing you don't really want to go anywhere near is somebody who has a very one-sided description of their past. Nobody is always the villain, but also nobody's always the victim. And this is a big, big problem. If somebody's always the victim, they never do anything wrong, just believe that you're going to be the next villain in their story, however you behave. Look, everybody, I hope this encouraged you more than scared you, or perhaps informed you more than scared you. I want to see people get married, but I want to see people be prudent. Let me know in the comments what some other red or green flags I didn't list might be, and make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. All right, y'all, be easy.
Matt Smith TV.